Amelia's tragedy.
In the town of Elmsworth, there lived a young man named Ethan. Ethan wasn't just incredibly handsome but also very wealthy. He owned a vast farm where he cultivated all sorts of crops. His success brought him immense happiness, but what thrilled him even more was the constant attention he received from beautiful young women. They would throw themselves at him, declaring their eternal love. However, Ethan was in a relationship with a beautiful young woman named Amelia. Amelia was a talented seamstress, known for creating stunning dresses. Almost every woman in town came to her for custom-made clothing. Ethan and Amelia had been childhood sweethearts, starting their relationship at the age of 16. In the beginning, Ethan only had eyes for Amelia, publicly declaring his love for her. But as he grew older, becoming more attractive and wealthier, women began to pursue him relentlessly, and Ethan started to change. His eyes began to wander, and he started flirting with every woman in sight. Amelia was heartbroken. She often cried in her room whenever she caught Ethan with another woman. Her pain turned into anger, and she would confront and even physically fight these women. Over time, Amelia transformed from a gentle, easygoing woman into a fierce fighter, known for causing scenes in Elmsworth over Ethan. Sometimes, when she caught Ethan cheating, she would break up with him, shouting, "I'm done. I deserve better." But days later, she would return, crying, "I can't leave you, Ethan. We've been together for 7 years. 7 years. I won't let another woman take what's mine." Ethan would hug her and assure her everything would be fine, though deep down, he didn't care if she stayed or left. There were too many women vying for his attention. Yet, Ethan had a soft spot for Amelia, which is why he never officially ended their relationship. Over time, Amelia continued to fight off women she suspected of being involved with Ethan, even losing several customers because of her confrontations. She desperately wanted Ethan to marry her, having devoted 7 years of her life to him. "Ethan, when will you marry me? I love you, and I know you love me too. So, when will you speak to my father about marriage?" Amelia asked one day, her voice filled with worry. "Marriage? Who said anything about marriage? I'm not ready to settle down. I'm still young and have my whole life ahead of me," Ethan replied, frowning. "What do you mean you're not ready? You're rich, one of the wealthiest men in town. What more do you need to get married? And I'm not getting any younger either," Amelia responded, her voice trembling. "Amelia, it's not just about money. Marriage is a big step, and I want to enjoy my youth before settling down. If you can't wait for me, you're free to marry someone else. No hard feelings," Ethan said nonchalantly. "How could you say that, Ethan? How could you suggest I marry someone else? You're the only man I've ever loved. Don't you remember the promise we made at 16, that we'd marry each other?" Amelia cried. "Amelia, stop crying. I didn't mean to hurt you. I'm just saying I'm not ready. But if you can wait, then fine. As for that promise, we were just kids. It doesn't mean anything. If that's the only reason you want us to get married, don't bother. I release you from it. You're free to marry whoever you want," Ethan said kindly. "No, Ethan, it's not just the promise. I love you, and I'll wait as long as it takes. 5 years, 6 years, even 10 years, I'll wait," Amelia said, smiling through her tears. They hugged, and Amelia felt reassured. After that conversation, Amelia began acting like Ethan's wife. He gave her a spare key to his house, and she would spend her days cleaning and cooking for him. She told herself she was simply practicing for when they were married. However, her business began to suffer as she spent less time sewing and more time doing chores for Ethan. Despite her mother, Mrs. Beatrice, warning her to stop chasing after Ethan and to let him prove his love, Amelia refused to listen. "Amelia, men are hunters. If Ethan truly loves you, he'll come after you. Stop doing wifely duties for a man who hasn't married you. There are better men, like James, who would cherish you. Why waste your time on Ethan? Mrs. Beatrice pleaded. Mama, I can't marry anyone else. Ethan is my husband. You don't know him like I do. He loves me, Amelia replied stubbornly. 2 years passed, and Amelia was still waiting for Ethan to propose. During this time, she had 2 abortions for him, yet Ethan remained uninterested in marriage. Instead, he continued flirting and sleeping with other women. One day, Ethan told Amelia he was traveling to another town for a funeral. He gave her money to cook for him and asked her to clean his house while he was away. Amelia felt like his wife again and happily did as he asked. On the day Ethan was supposed to return, Amelia prepared a feast and dressed up to welcome him. However, when she arrived at his house, she found a crowd gathered outside. Ethan had returned, but he wasn't alone. Standing beside him was a stunning woman dressed like royalty. Amelia's heart sank. She asked someone in the crowd what was happening, and they told her Ethan had married Princess Sophia, the daughter of King Alan from the neighboring kingdom. Amelia was devastated. Tears streamed down her face as she realized Ethan had betrayed her. Part of her wanted to attack Sophia, as she had done with other women, but she knew she couldn't touch a princess without severe consequences. Humiliated, she returned home, where her family looked at her in shock. Amelia locked herself in her room and cried uncontrollably. She felt like a fool. She had spent years cooking, cleaning, and sacrificing for Ethan, only for him to marry someone else. That night, Amelia couldn't sleep. At midnight, she stripped off her clothes, went outside, and screamed, "It's me, Amelia, daughter of Beatrice. I demand justice. Ethan and I made a vow never to marry anyone else. He has betrayed me. I want justice." Meanwhile, Ethan was enjoying his honeymoon with Princess Sophia, oblivious to Amelia's cries. The next morning, Amelia expected to hear that Ethan had been struck down by the gods, but nothing happened. Instead, Ethan and Sophia continued to live happily, often walking past Amelia's shop, laughing and holding hands. Each time Amelia saw them, her pain grew. She wished the ground would swallow her whole. Months later, Sophia became pregnant, and both she and Ethan were overjoyed. Amelia, on the other hand, sank deeper into depression. She had become the laughingstock of Elmsworth, and no man dared approach her. Meanwhile, Sophia's pregnancy went smoothly until she had a strange dream. In the dream, a hideous bird attacked her and snatched her unborn child. She woke up in a pool of blood, having suffered a miscarriage. Sophia was devastated. Ethan comforted her, though he suspected the miscarriage was a result of the broken vow he had made with Amelia. He said nothing, hoping it was a one-time occurrence. However, when Sophia became pregnant again and had the same dream, followed by another miscarriage, she decided to seek answers from a traditional healer in her kingdom. The healer performed rituals and told Sophia, "Your husband cannot have children with anyone except a woman named Amelia. They are spiritually bound by a vow they made in their youth. The gods will honor this bond." Sophia was furious. She confronted Ethan, shouting, "Why didn't you tell me about Amelia? You're already tied to another woman, and now I'm losing my children because of it. I'm leaving. I won't waste my life with you." Sophia packed her things and left, and soon the entire town learned of the healer's revelation. Ethan was humiliated. Everywhere he went, people whispered about him. Amelia, on the other hand, was thrilled. She believed Ethan would now come back to her and propose. And he did. Months later, Ethan returned, begging for her forgiveness. Amelia forgave him, and they got married. Amelia was ecstatic, she had finally achieved her dream. But Ethan felt trapped. Resentful and unhappy, he eventually packed his bags and left one morning without telling Amelia. She searched for him everywhere, but no one knew where he had gone. 40 years later, Amelia was still waiting for Ethan to return. She sat outside their house every day, hoping he would come back. She had no husband, no children, and no future.